Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast, and I am your host, Samuel. In this podcast, I interview top medical sales reps and leading medical sales executives across the entire country. And it doesn't matter what medical sales industry, from medical device to pharmaceutical to genetic testing to diagnostic lab, you name it. You will learn how to either break into the industry, be a top 5% performer within your role in sales, or climb the corporate ladder. Welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel, and today we have with us a very special guest. We have with us Shannon Mays. Now, many of you might have heard of Shannon Mays because he's actually a medical sales professional that's well known in the spine division at Medtronic, and he's currently the Senior Regional Sales Director. But the reason why this is such a special treat for me to bring this interview to you is because Shannon was our second episode ever of the Medical Sales Podcast. And I'm happy to report that Shannon is going to be our 150th episode of the Medical Sales Podcast as of this episode. So I'm just excited to bring that to you guys because when I talked to him, he was also in his own journey of growth, and he wasn't in the position he's in today. And of course, we weren't either. But I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to save it all for the episode. As always, thank you for listening to the Medical Sales Podcast. We make sure to bring you innovative guests that are doing things a little bit differently in the medical sales space. And I'm so excited to bring this episode to you. So I really do hope you enjoy this interview. Shannon Mays, how are we doing today?
I'm doing well, brother. How are you?
Oh, man, this is so exciting. Okay, so let me educate everybody on why this is such a phenomenal moment right here, right now. Besides the fact that we're both wearing matching shirts, kudos on your wardrobe. You're a guy that has good taste.
Great mind.
Great minds think alike. So Shannon Mays was I want to say you were our second interview. I think you were our second interview ever. And just so everyone has some context, you know, when I started this thing, I didn't even have a video option. There was no camera. There was nothing. There was me and my recorder. And then there was a rough person on the other line with a rough connection trying to make something work. And Shannon, you know, I found Shannon on LinkedIn. We got to talking. We hit it off. And it was an episode about what it means to be a spine rep, right? And
yeah, you kind of tricked me a little bit.
Yeah,
I can give some context to that. Yeah, it was, I guess we reached out and we just started to have, conversation. You're like, hey man, I'd love to interview you and just chat a little bit. I said, all right, great. This was during the pandemic. And I said, let me try to do something that is way outside of my comfort zone, something I'm not used to, something I've never done before. I will happily speak to this random person, right? And just chat with him. And we had a really nice conversation. And then after the conversation, you were like, hey, I want to use this in a podcast. And I was like, oh no, like, what do you mean? And it took me some time. I said, man, I have to think about that. And it took some time for me to be comfortable with that. But right. It was, pandemic time. I think it was about, taking risks and doing things maybe different than you've done them in the past. And I took a leap of faith and obviously trusted you with delivering the content, and it worked. It was good, and I felt comfortable with it. It was an awesome experience for me, so I appreciate you reaching out to me on that.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you agreeing to it. Back then it was just to your point. I had the idea of the podcast, but it hadn't quite formed yet, and I was just kind of putting content together. And was it really going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And thank God it did. And because your episode, everyone loved your episode. I mean, to this day, you're still the highest and most listened to episode. I think you're at 3,000 or something plus downloads now. And just so everybody has some context, we are, this is our 150th episode. So I first talked to Shannon 148 or 49 episodes ago. And it's been a number of years. I mean, it's been, our podcast has been in operation for 3 years. So, and our company has grown from a solo show to a 16 plus member team, and hundreds of professionals now in medical sales positions. So it's just amazing to be here with you after so much has changed. But let's talk about you first. So what position did you have all those episodes ago?
Yeah, I was a sales rep when we first spoke. I was I did spinal sales, and so I was an individual contributor and in the OR every day and supporting customers and patients alike. So that was my role. I was a sales rep.
Yeah,
and a number of different iterations of that over the last 3 years. It's been a whirlwind. We've lived in 4 different houses in 3 different locations.
Wow!
And I've had this is my 3rd role now, right? Like I was a sales rep and then kind of made a number of different changes. I was very fortunate to have those opportunities.
Absolutely. Can we share what role you are today?
Yeah, so right now I'm the senior director for our spinal business in Florida. So again, I'm super fortunate to have the opportunity. I've had a lot of great mentors and
absolutely,
great advocates and really great teammates that have given me the opportunity to take on more responsibility, which has been great. So
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Wow, from sales professional to a senior director, it's just what a blessing. What a blessing. Okay, then lightly, just share with us in a nutshell, what would you say probably the biggest lesson learned? I know when we talked a lot about your career and what it means to be a spine salesman and just the different things that make up doing that role. But you've had so much growth. I mean, you've moved 4 different times. The family's going with. I mean, you've been doing all kinds of things. You've managed at different levels now. If you had to just kind of capture it all and say your biggest learning, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for me, there's a couple of things. I mean, I'd be willing to take risks, right? A lot of people are, very comfortable in their roles and their location and all those things. And I think, the gold is in the, in you taking risks, right? So I guess the first thing is definitely take risks. And the other piece is, take your development as a person and as a professional in your own hands. Nobody's going to, drag you across the finish line or to certain development opportunities. You have to do it yourself. And it was, a switch kind of went off in me, and I said, I want to, really become an expert at, developing myself. And I did that. I took all the courses you can imagine. I reached out to folks that I, have a lot of respect for and learn from them. I'm a constant learner. Yeah. I'm a different person, right, than you met. And I think it's required that you evolve and change, But what I needed to do to survive as a sales rep is much different than what I need to do, to do my job effectively right now. So, yeah, I think taking risks and, again, just, being a continuous learner and taking your own development into your own hands, that has been critical for me for sure.
That is fantastic. And it hasn't just been all professional. I know family changes too. So please share what's different from episode 2 to episode 150.
So if I can, when we first met, I had my son, he was newborn, but we sort of just had him a couple months prior.
Okay.
And so he is 3 now. My daughter is 6 now, and then we have an 8-month-old. So, another addition to the team. I probably have more gray hair and probably added another 15 pounds onto since then. So yeah, it's been wonderful, man. We've just you never know what a year will bring you or 2 or 3, right? A lot of things will change in your life. And, fortunately for me, everything's been very positive. So yeah, new family addition as well.
I love to see it. And again, it's great to see you on camera, because back in the day, there was no camera. It was just audio. So
I remember, I literally remember where I was when we did our first interview, and it was like kind of muffled. I don't like Zoom wasn't like a popular thing at
No,
that time,
I mean,
either, right?
it was becoming popular because of COVID. So everybody was getting on the
Right.
Zoom wave, and it was becoming a much more
Right.
mainstream part of life because of COVID. But yeah, it was on audio recording, and you were outside, I think, right?
I was on the porch, and I remember like hearing noise in the background, and yeah, it was like now we're on Zoom face to face here. Like, it's pretty cool. So yeah, man, it's been a wild journey, but things are obviously settling down a little bit from the pandemic, and
Yeah.
a lot of the career level changes. So for us, it's exciting. We're actually going to be relocating again, but
Again.
sort of going home, I guess you would call it. But we'll see what the next couple of years will bring. I certainly didn't think that we'd be moving as much as we did.
Yeah.
The last 3 years. I'm just enjoying the journey and learning and enjoying the ride for sure.
Absolutely. So when we first started, I think our listenership consisted mainly of people in medical sales. As we grew, of course, and with intention, we now have over 7,000 to 9,000 downloads a month, and we have a number of people that are trying to get into the industry. Talk to us a little bit about, from your vantage point, think about COVID, think about the things that had to change around hiring due to COVID and where we're at today. Would you say that it's a different animal to get into the industry than it was when we first met?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I have to presume it's probably even more competitive now than it was, right? A lot of the the organizations have had some challenging times during COVID, so there's probably less opportunity than there was overall in the industry, right? So people are competing, all for the same gigs,
Yeah.
And so I would have to say that it perhaps may be more competitive. But there's also additional opportunity too, because as an industry, we learned so many things during COVID, and perhaps there may be new technologies that weren't as prevalent during COVID or right before COVID that there are right now, right? So I think probably it's more competitive and people are anxiously trying to get in. I've certainly seen a lot of outreach, and I'm usually like, that's not my domain expertise. Go talk to Samuel or something. I don't know how to get in, right? But people are definitely excited about the industry too, because of the effect the industry had on getting us through COVID as well.
Yeah.
Right? So people have seen this as something that they may want to pursue for their career as well.
Yeah, I think what I would say, what we've seen with COVID, what COVID did is it kind of put medical sales on notice. People that, for whatever reason, it just wasn't on their mind, suddenly wanted to know what it means to have a career in medical sales. When I'm saying medical sales, I'm talking about all healthcare sales. It just seemed to put everyone on notice. And then now, hundreds and hundreds more people are interested in getting into this field. So it has made it much more competitive because COVID put it on notice, and and now people like us, we came out of the woodwork to explain what actually happens in this space, right? Who are the players in this space? What are they doing? What does the job look like? What kind of jobs can you entertain in this space? And I feel like the medical sales industry is a much more, for lack of a better word, much more of a household name than it used to be pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So, I would say that. As a sales professional, though, and I love asking you because now you've managed sales professionals, so you can speak to this. Would you say that what you needed to be effective pre-COVID looks a little bit different now, or it's pretty much the same?
Yeah, I think sort of the larger ideology is the same, right? Table stakes are, you've got to be a hard worker. You've got to be a likable person. You've got to understand technology. I think, all those kind of bigger points will be consistent. But I think, change agility is something that is definitely needed overall, because we've gone through so many changes and technology and hospitals are iterating on a daily basis. So somebody that's definitely more flexible to change than, what was traditionally out there. I mean, all the companies are developing technologies much quicker than they did before, right? So you've got to be prepared for that, right? The change that happens in the industry so quickly. So I think the major aspects of the business in terms of the profile of a person are probably going to be consistent, but I do think it's going to change, right? Because we're sort of going through this digitization of healthcare, and what was required of a rep in the past is changing, and it certainly will be different in terms of what the understanding of technology and software, and we sell software as a service, right? We are med tech companies, right? Truly, not just hardware, representatives. So I think the rep of the future is certainly going to have to be very tech savvy in the sense of software and the digital healthcare that we're talking about as well.
So during COVID, people were saying after COVID, this is going to be the new way to operate. Everyone's going to want to stay home. Everyone's going to want to be on cameras because they saw how efficient it is and how much more you can get done. But then, COVID did resolve, and it didn't quite go to let's everyone stay home and just do video calls. It seemed to be much more of a hybrid. But I want to hear from you. Would you say that after COVID, it's now quickly reverting back to we need people in the office, we need people to be, in person? Or would you say it has become a largely hybrid? Or would you say that no, it's actually become even more digital than we anticipated it would be when COVID resolves? Where would you say we landed?
Yeah, I think probably somewhere in the middle. I think we missed the human interaction, right? Like, I feel like there was a period at one point where we were all just really teaming to get back in front of somebody. You and I still have this barrier between us. I can see you and it's all real time and it's great, but man, it's hard to replace a handshake and a hug. Very true. So yep. I think at one point we were definitely, folks were wanting to really get back to that human interaction. So definitely seeing that, but there's definitely efficiencies to us being able to do this as opposed to flying out somewhere and seeing each other. So we certainly approached our customers differently, and I think the technology, I think it helped us, right? Just to be more efficient, utilizing the technology. So I think I'd say there's a hybrid, right? There are more remote roles. I think it's helpful for people that are looking for careers. If you can't move to Spokane, Washington, perhaps you could be remote, which is excellent for the candidate and the company. You can you can cast a wider net for talent in certain positions. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of a mix of both for sure. Okay. Yeah, we were talking a little bit earlier. Well, let me ask you first. Besides your position, what's one of the biggest changes since the first time we talked? Besides the family, besides your role, what else? I would say just my mindset is me, right? Like I've changed. And like I mentioned, it's a requisite that I do change, right? And I tell people this all the time. If you get a different role, you must be different, right? Yeah. So, if I have another role 3, 4, 5 years from now and you and I speak, I hope that I must be different than I am today. Right. So I think just as a person, I've changed. I'm competitive in the aspect of I want to get better. So I seek mentorship out. I seek coaching from my leadership, and absolutely. So yeah, I've changed. So quite a bit. So I would say that's kind of the biggest change that I've seen aside from the job titles and the locations and things like that. It's me. Yeah. What about you? I'll ask you the same question. What's changed for you aside from the expansion of the business? I'd like to hear your response to that. Yeah. Okay. So I'm asking the questions here. so everybody, I'm being interviewed on my podcast. I'll take it. Great. So yeah, there are the business changes. I would have to agree with you. I think mindset is the biggest change.
But I can say that, the business expansion directly plays into that mindset, right? So when we first talked,
Right.
it was a solo show, like literally. And now, we have a core team of 7. By extension, we have a team of 16 individuals working. I mean, 7 people full-time working to get people into positions, teaching them, training them, getting them on the right way. And then 16 additional people working to help them with any time they have. So it's amazing to see. And what it's forced me to do is really just take that 30,000 foot view and just see how all the pieces connect and what's really going on with an individual candidate and what can we do to give them that significant advantage that allows a hiring manager to say, you know what, I've talked to a lot of people, but I want to hire you. From this vantage point, that has become a thing that can be really easily seen, which means we can make it even more emphatic and get people into positions even faster. So that's pretty exciting. And then another thing I would say that's affected my mindset is from this vantage point, I do get to see what's actually happening in the industry, right? So we look at it like you have a candidate, and I will be the first person to say that if a candidate can demonstrate the right stuff, you can almost get hired anywhere. Let me stop there. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain intangibles or that you are looking, right? Like I can think of interviews that we've had and I'm like, that person has it, right? So yeah, I would agree in many respects to that.
Yeah. With everything, with the necessities there and the qualifications there, if a candidate demonstrates the right stuff, then we believe they can get hired. I think what's a bigger player in that though is then there's what's happening in the market. What's happening with hiring in general? What's happening with this vertical within medical sales versus this vertical in a different part of healthcare sales? And those are things now that we can actually really study and understand and then fit into what it means for this candidate to get a position in this vertical when they're coming from this space or from a completely different industry. That's kind of what getting here has allowed us to do. And of course, this allows us to get even bigger and better results for our clients. But yeah, the mindset, absolutely. Learn how to delegate. I'm sure you're probably a master at delegation right now with all the promotions you've had and the levels of leadership and how many people report to you. I think I've had a master class in understanding how to do that effectively to bring about desired results and keep the integrity of whatever system you initially created as you continue to get bigger. So absolutely, the mindset.
I've been lucky. I've been lucky with that though. I mean, I have, my leadership team is just a great team, right? So I've been super fortunate to have, the leadership team that I have currently and I'm talking up and down, right? The folks that report into me and the folks I report into. So, again, just been fortunate with all that stuff.
Yeah. And you know what? I have to speak to that as well. And it's kind of cool you asked me this because I never talk about this, but you're the 150th, maybe 148th, right? Because I did talk to the first person ever, and then you were the second person ever. And right. So that's 148 people that I've gotten to develop relationships with, people that are in different, CEOs all the way to from individual contributors all the way to CEOs, all within healthcare sales. And they've really expanded my mindset, right? They've helped me see things that there's no way I could understand or see if I didn't have the opportunity to meet them and develop a relationship with them. That's been huge. And you're included in that, Shannon. So it's amazing to see how just having that consistency with that many different people in that many different spaces, what it can do to your purview. And it's greatly impacted my purview and allowed me to see trends and identify things that there's no way I would have been able to otherwise.
That's a great education, man. I didn't consider that, but I mean, you are talking to people in so many different crevices of med device or medical sales in general that you have, you've gone through an MBA program, so to speak, of medical sales. It's impressive, man. I'm excited for you, man. I'm happy for I'm happy that, this is where we are, right? You in particular with, where this whole thing started. So it's awesome, man.
No, I appreciate you, Shannon. And I love the fact that, because I remember in that episode we talked about, I asked you, I said, so what do you think about for the next 5 years? What do you want to get yourself into? And I think you humbly said, I look to be a leader and I want to get into leadership, and you kind of left it there. And now you've personified it, man. So, I'm happy to say the same thing. Congratulations to all the success you've had.
Appreciate it, man. It's been great, and I'm more excited. I celebrated 17 years just a couple of days ago in the industry. I'm more excited than I've ever been, in my career. So if that speaks to you in terms of what's happening and where we're going, I hope it does. I should say.
Absolutely,
it's very exciting. Yeah,
absolutely. One more question I got that I want to throw at you, and I don't know how often you get it or if you get it, but we're around the time of Juneteenth, and that's a significant time in the United States and really globally, even for being a Black American and what we're able to do as Black Americans in the United States. Talk to us a little bit about what that means for you, if anything, how you view it, and within the context of your career.
Yeah, I said it on the first episode. I was just a young college kid, and I had somebody reach out to me, and they said that they thought I may be somebody to consider for this industry, because they were compelled to think about the opportunity for diversity within the space. And that was 17 years ago that this conversation happened. Yeah. Again, I didn't fully appreciate what that meant. I just was, interested in a job, right?
Right.
But full circle, it's amazing to see how diverse our business has become. I think there's still a lot of work to be done there, but our customers are changing, and we have to change along with it. So it means a lot to me. I think in general, different perspectives is going to be helpful to all of us, right? Just to be better and to, just get better as a business. So a lot is happening there, in the forefront and behind the scenes. And then, George Floyd happened between, when we first spoke and now, right?
Yeah. So,
there's just been a ton of attention to, the need to, provide people additional opportunities. And I think it's been a good thing. Again, just reflecting, man, a lot's happened.
Right? A lot's happened. I know it's a trip.
That we just forgot about that, right? But I think it's a great opportunity because again, the customer base is changing. Our patients are all of us, right? So we always want additional perspectives that will include every single person. We have a responsibility in this business, right? This is medicine. This isn't, we're not selling tires, right?
Right.
So it is our responsibility to have, diverse thought processes throughout that continuum of care, throughout the technology life cycle, and obviously, within the field as well.
200%. 200%. I love it. Okay. So we introduced something that we didn't have when I interviewed you all those years ago. And it's called the lightning round. And I ask you 4 questions. You have less than 10 seconds to answer each one. And then we do it at the wrap up of every interview. So I want to do that with you. Are you ready, Shannon?
I'm not. My answers are going to be, I have 3 kids now. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. First question. What's the best book you've read in the last 6 months?
Exactly. I knew that first one was coming. I will say I have an 8-month-old child, so what we're usually reading is our coloring books.
Hey, come on.
I will certainly hit a journal or 2 or 3 or 4 on my space, but it's been a challenge, I will say, in that regard. So I don't have a good answer for that one, unfortunately.
I understand completely.
I'm reading the book on how to attempt to put a baby down and get the other two to stay in their bedroom. So maybe I'll have a better answer for you next time.
Yeah, no problem. I got a funny story for you. My sister was on a flight. She just told me about it yesterday, and she had there was a baby on the flight, and it was a baby with the grandma, and the baby was just crying for a long time, and everybody was getting frustrated, and the grandma did not know what to do. And finally, this guy, a couple seats away, said, "Let me try." And he reached out, grabbed the baby, and swaddled the baby and held the baby. And like within like 10 seconds, this baby just went dead quiet. And dead quiet for the rest of the flight. And afterwards, everyone's asking, like, what, how were you able to do this? Like, what? And the guy shared that he had two little ones, under a year at home. And so he just mastered the positioning and everything. And he's able to quiet babies like it's nothing. So I just thought that was funny.
That's funny. I was with a customer a couple of weeks ago, and after the dinner, he brought his child. They lived right around the corner. Yeah. And I had my suit on, and I was holding his kid. He's like, "Man, I can tell you're."
He's like, "You know what you're doing.
You're holding the baby with the suit on and not breaking a stride." Right? So, yeah, that's been my training ground for the last.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I love it.
I'm trying to become the baby whisperer. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Yeah. Okay. Now this you might get with, because I know you and the missus need a break every now and again. What's the best TV show or movie you've seen in the last 6 months?
Oh man, I don't really watch TV.
Okay.
Movie. That's a good question. I have to chew on that. I've actually been getting. I don't know the title, but I've been getting into like a lot of dystopian sci-fi type of movies.
All right.
So I don't know why. I get like a little time, I'll watch some weird sci-fi stuff. I believe that we are not alone in this universe.
I'm right there with you. Hey, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I believe it's a fact.
Yeah, so I'll watch different shows like that. I'm actually watching an Apple TV show called Silo, and just sort of getting into it. It's really interesting. And I think there's going to be kind of, some secret trap doors around the corner regarding the show. But that might be an interesting one to check out. I don't know if folks want to comment in the section. I'm sure you can have this.
Oh yeah.
Maybe they're interested in the Silo show, but we've been sort of watching that too.
Absolutely.
A little bit.
Yeah. Everyone, we might put that in the show notes in case you're interested. And then
another thing, just to reference back to what my life is. We have not done it yet, but man, we have been anticipating seeing The Little Mermaid, and so there's a new Little Mermaid that's out, and
that's right.
I need to take my daughter to see it at the movie theater, so that's where we are, man.
See, you have no excuse because you have a daughter. You have daughters, so you have to go. Yeah, I have an excuse because I got boys. But we will also go and support. So
yeah, we're excited for that one.
That's awesome. All right, what is the best meal you've had in the last 6 months? And it can be made at home or it can be a restaurant and whatever was on the menu.
Yeah, definitely restaurant. I'm sort of a foodie. I've had a couple really good ones. Actually, this week I went to a great place in Orlando and met up with my old college roommate, and we had a really good sort of an omakase meal. We went to a really fancy sushi place and had a bunch of really awesome.
Oh, you got to give us the name. You have to give us the name, Shannon.
I think it was called Kabuki or something like that. Is in Orlando.
Kabuki in Orlando.
And then we actually, my wife and I had a really awesome tasting menu meal in Jacksonville. I'm losing the name of this place, the French restaurant, which was awesome, and we had wine pairing and all that stuff. So,
nice.
Yeah, I have some good answers on that. We will find a babysitter and shoot out to have a good meal. So I've had those are probably the the two better ones that I've had recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we can, we might try to track later. We might try to track you down to get the name of that second option too.
I can find it.
Okay.
I'll find it before we conclude here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we only got one more question. So this is the big
Rue
one.
St. Mark. Rue St. Mark. That's what it's called.
How do you say it one more time?
Rue St. Mark.
Rude St. Mark.
Rue. R-U-E St. Mark. Rue St. Mark.
Rue St. Mark. Okay. So we will be putting that in the show notes for everybody out there in Orlando to try this place. So
Rue is in Jacksonville.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See,
let me correct that. In Jacksonville to try this place. So yeah, we'll get the show notes. Don't you worry. You guys will have delicious food to taste. Last question. What is the best experience you've had in the last 6 months and why?
The last 6 months, I mean, there are a couple of really awesome ones. I had my 41st birthday, and we did something really nice at the house, and I brought our wedding singer up to do a little
that's
performance.
Cool. Yeah,
just had all the family here, which was really wonderful. So that was a great experience.
Happy belated.
Just having everybody close. Thank you, man. Yeah, so that was definitely good. And then I'll just say, this entire journey and kind of what's happening in my professional life, it's been a really great experience. We've had some, as everybody does, we've had challenges with in work, and man, this team that I have the pleasure to lead it's been super gratifying to see what's happened over the last 6 months. So yeah, on the professional side, definitely that, and then the personal side, the birthday was a lot of fun.
Hey, Shannon, this was a true pleasure to have you on the show. 150th episode. It's amazing to even share that and to see all that you've been able to accomplish and the things that you've done in such a short amount of time. It's inspiring. And I know that people listening are going to be further inspired to do that much more in their own careers. So thank you so much for the time. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
No, just congratulations to you too, man. I'm happy for you more than anything, right? Like, this is 150 episodes for you, right? So I appreciate you even, taking me along this journey, with you. One of these days we're going to have to actually meet in person.
Yes.
That might be cool. So we'll definitely figure out a way to do that.
Yeah. Next time I go to Florida, I'm going to reach out and we'll make that happen.
Please do. Yeah, please do. But I'll leave everybody with congratulations to you, man. This is all about you and, this awesome business that you've built in this platform and, the amazing content. This has been super helpful for a lot of people. So congrats to you, man. Really great job.
It wouldn't happen without wonderful individuals like yourself. So thank you, Shannon. It was awesome to have you on the show. And you know what? I might have to bring you back for our 300th episode. So can't wait to see what you do. Oh, man.
I appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much for having me. And we'll catch up soon.
Absolutely. And that was Shannon Mays. I sometimes still can't believe how far things have gone with the Medical Sales Podcast, with everything in medical sales and everything we've had to do with it. It's been an amazing journey, and it's amazing to see someone like Shannon and kind of track his growth and just see him get into bigger and better places as he continues in his career. It's a gift to be able to be a part of it. So I'm so glad we were able to do that episode. I normally get into why you need to visit evolveyoursuccess.com and select apply now for the Medical Sales Career Builder if you're someone that wants to get in the industry. I normally go on and on about that because it's an amazing program that's helped hundreds of people, that's continuing to help people today. And we give you opportunities that you might not be able to find otherwise. One thing that I love to be able to say that we can do now is for that right client, we do have actual opportunities with positions, with organizations before they hit the actual market. So just to be able to be a part of that is an exciting thing to report. But today, I am not going to go on and on about that. I'm actually going to go on and on about something else. Considering it's our 150th episode, if you've been a listener for any period of time, then I want you to stop what you're doing right now. Go to Apple iTunes if you're an Apple listener, or Spotify if you're not an Apple listener, and I want you to write a review of the Medical Sales Podcast. We want to bring knowledge to the masses. Our mission for the Medical Sales Podcast is to ultimately cover every single medical sales field, every single healthcare sales field in existence, not just sales, but clinical specialist positions as well, and just put out this information so listeners like yourselves know exactly what you can entertain, whether that be a career jump or a lateral move from a different type of healthcare sales. But in order for us to continue to do that, people have to know that the information we've been bringing you is worthwhile. And the best way for people to know that is to read the reviews. So I'm asking you now, whatever you're doing, stop for just a moment. Go to Apple iTunes if you're an Apple listener. Go to Spotify if you're a Spotify listener. And I want you to leave a review, 1 or 2 sentences on the value you're getting from this podcast. I thank you so much to all the listeners out there. It's the emails I get from you guys. It's the messages I get from you guys that keeps us more than excited and happy to bring this type of information, bring you these interviews, bring you the lifestyles of all these different professionals so you can map out your own. So make sure you tune in next week for another episode of the Medical Sales Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember, I have a couple programs that show you exactly how to break into the medical sales industry, become a top-performing medical sales professional, and also how to masterfully navigate your career to executive-level leadership. Check out these programs and learn more at evolveyoursuccess.com. Stay tuned for more awesome content with amazing interviews.